So this is a different kind of video than ones I'm used to making. And it kind of came about after talking to a lot of you in the past few weeks and what your concerns and worries were for, the oncoming year. The reality is that we're entering a recession and we are being more careful with our money and where we spend it because since we don't have as much disposable income, we need to spend that money on bills instead. And I'm in that boat as well. I've been a lot more careful about the things I've been buying, and I feel like that's just how it is going to be for a lot of us in the oncoming year. It means we have to be a lot more careful about the business decisions that we're making and also the new kinds of products that we're going to be investing our money and our time in. Now, I'm like a lot of you, and I am very, very worried about 2023 actually. It'll be my second year going into my full-time business, and I have a lot more expenses than I did last year to pay for. I mean, just the studio alone is a big portion of my income. So I want to talk about 4 things that I'm going to be focusing on this year to make sure that I can mitigate the risk in my own business as well and make sure that I can make it to 2024 still doing what I love. Hopefully this video will be helpful for my other aspiring small business owners, and I'm just here to let you know that you are not alone in your concerns and worries. I'm there with you along with many others. So the first thing I'm going to be doing this year is focusing on fewer restocks. Previously, I had been doing new releases every single month and it was exhausting. I was trying to make new products and I was trying to release new ceramics every single month. And what ended up happening is that I would be constantly scrambling to get these releases done. And at the same time, I never had time to market and share these things that I was making. There were many times I made new products and nobody knew about them because I never had time to talk about it before the next release. The other thing that often happened also is that people would buy from my shop and then miss out on the next release's products because they didn't want to pay for shipping again. So by focusing on fewer restocks each year, I hope that the collections will be a lot stronger, and it'll also give me more time to talk about them before they happen and as they're happening. I think that this will be a lot easier for me to manage and also for the people who might be buying from me too. Now, the second thing I want to do, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, I have a very hard time doing this, but the second thing I want to be able to do is have a smaller product range. I have suffered as a shop of having way too many things available in my shop. I think I have over 50 different kinds of products, and honestly, it gets really, really hard for me to manage so much inventory as a single business owner. What ended up happening is that I would make new pins, and then as old pins sold out, I would restock the pins that sold out. I don't know why I keep doing this. Take it from me, when something sells out, don't restock it. What ends up happening is that people have already bought it and they don't want to buy it again. Like, I don't need 2 of the same pin, right? So that's one of the things I'm going to be really focusing on is reducing my product range so that it's easier for me to manage. I'm also going to be taking a really hard look at the things that aren't bringing in as much profit for the amount of effort that I put into it. So one of those things actually is the magnet sets that I make. I started to actually really look at the numbers and I wasn't making very much money on the magnet sets I was making for the amount of work I was putting into them. If you didn't know, I assemble all of those magnets by hand, and each of those magnets actually is quite expensive to make. And so I wasn't actually making as much profit on it as I thought it was. So I guess taking a really hard look at what's in your shop and then cutting things that really aren't worth it will be really important. The other thing also is that when you have such a large product range, it's really hard for anything to really stand out because there are so many things in the shop. I mentioned before that I would make new things and nobody would know about it, and that could just be a fault of me not marketing it well. At the same time, it was just like so much. So really, I'm gonna be focusing on reducing the amount of things I have in my shop when things sell out, not restocking them, and then trying to really focus on the best kinds of items that people will actually want. Making something different, maybe investing in something that's a little bit more unique, I think is going to be the way to go. So one of the other big things I'm going to be looking at this year is looking at other streams of income. I think you've seen many content creators probably talk about this, but having multiple sources of income is really important so that you don't have all of your eggs in one basket. For me, my streams of income include, of course, my shop, which is my #1 source of income, as well as Patreon. I also have income from local markets, which is really, really great because it allows me to reach new audiences that I haven't seen before, and also YouTube and social media. Unfortunately for me, I don't actually make any money from Reels on Instagram. I don't think people really know this, but if you live in the EU, you don't get paid for Reels. New things I want to be looking at this year, and I kind of started looking at actually at the end of last year, are things like print on demand. I know not everyone may be a fan of print on demand, and if you aren't familiar with it, basically what ends up happening is you create designs and then someone else will manufacture and send those things for you. I understand that it's not as personable for small businesses to use this type of business strategy. I don't really know what else to call it. And not everybody wants to do print on demand. But for me, I've always really wanted to do apparel, but investing a lot in t-shirts is really expensive and also really risky for me. So basically, to reduce that risk, I have decided to do print on demand. This allows me to make t-shirts and other kinds of things I wouldn't be able to make otherwise. And also, it is zero risk for me as a small business owner. Basically, these things are made when people buy them, so there is no upfront cost. You don't have to invest hundreds or thousands of dollars into something that might not sell. And then people can get exactly what they want. For example, if you're looking for a shirt and they don't have your size, well, print on demand is a really good way to go about this because they just make it on demand. Another thing I'm also looking at currently is workshops and finding ways of sharing knowledge. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot is finding a way to make this studio space into a space where I can do workshops for either ceramics or even just, talking about business things like this in a more closed, intimate form. That's kind of far off for me, but if I can find a way to make that work, that'd be pretty great. The other thing I've also been thinking about doing is commissions and pre-orders. And I think a lot of people are really excited about this because they've been waiting for so long for a particular item. And the really great thing about this is that when people pre-order, then you know exactly what they want. There is no guessing and whether or not this new type of thing is going to sell. So there is no risk there. Of course, the downside is it feels a little bit less creative because you're making designs that you have already made before in the past. But I feel like these are the kinds of decisions that we have to start thinking about in the 2023 year with the recession. The last thing I'm going to be focusing on this year is growing my audience. And that I feel like is going to be the hardest one because it's not like I have stopped trying to grow my audience. It's just become, I guess, more of a priority. So I feel like last year I kind of actually took a step back from marketing as much and focused more on making things for my business and my shop, especially during the autumn season and holiday season. And the main reason that YouTube basically fell off at the second half of last year. So that's why this year I really want to focus on YouTube and making more YouTube content. I feel like YouTube has always been the best social media platform. I'll bet also the most difficult one to produce content for, but I think it also gives the most for creators. So that's why I really want to focus on making really helpful YouTube content for you to help support you and also hopefully reach new people as well. Some of the other platforms I've also been looking at are, of course, Twitter, which was doing really well for me and is still a little bit in a questionable space. I still really do enjoy it actually as a creative. Really nice just to see all the art that's on there, and I've discovered a lot of new artists. And so Twitter's one I'm going to be kind of trying to focus on. And then the other one, and I say this very hesitantly again, I feel like I say this every year, TikTok. Somehow I want to do TikTok. I don't really know if I'm made for TikTok, but we're going to try it out. So really the goal is trying to grow the audience, reach more people. And I think that will be really important for the business in the long run. I really want to be able to share my knowledge with you and also reach new people as well. So those are the things I'm going to be looking at for the oncoming year to reduce the risk in my business and make sure that I can make it to 2024. I know this is a different kind of video, but I just wanted to kind of chat about this and share a little bit more about the things I'm thinking about as a small business. Hopefully this video was helpful for other aspiring small business owners or even just regular people who are curious about what goes on the inner workings of running an art business. I would really love to hear if you're making any changes and if you're doing anything differently, or if you totally disagree with any of the things that I said. I would really love to hear from you so that we can learn from each other. So that wraps it up. Let me know if you have any questions, and just know that you aren't alone in your worries for the oncoming year. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.